Hi, within this lecture, we're gonna see what a MAC address is, and also we're gonna talk about how to change it and why do we need to change it at all. So I'm in my Kali Linux, and MAC is spelled like this, okay, MAC. It stands for Media Access Control, and it's actually a number that has been assigned by the producer of the specific device. So if I run ifconfig, I see that I have the iNAT over here in the ETH0, and as I said in the previous lecture, it will change to the 192 eventually, since I have changed my connection to be bridge adapter. So if you've done the same thing as well, then you will see your IP address starts with 192 right now in the ETH0 as well. But it really doesn't matter. I can even come up over here and just turn off disconnect the Ethernet network and get rid of the ETH0, because right now I have WLAN O, which will actually work for me because I'm connected to the internet using WLAN O at this point. But anyway, this is not what we are here for. We are here for learning about the MAC address. So if you run ifconfig, then you can see the actual MAC addresses over here as well. So you have to look for this ether. Okay, so this is the MAC address of ETH0. And in the WLAN O, you can see another MAC address over here as well. Of course, yours will be different from mine because this is a unique property or a unique value that has been assigned by the producer of the specific device. Why do they assign this? Because we have to have a unique identifier when it comes to these devices. Assume that you have a home router, and I assume you already have one, and many of the devices in your home like phones or tablets or iPads or computers are connected to that network, and each of the device has its own unique MAC address. So you can use this MAC address, you can use this unique value inside of an inter-network communication, for example. And there are a lot of packets going on inside of a network, so you have to know, or you have to have some kind of logic to transmit some packets, like a packet of information like data, okay, requests and responses from one source to another, and you can use MAC address and also the IP addresses for that purpose. And in fact, later on during this course, we're gonna write our own tools with Python in order to match the IP addresses with MAC addresses, and in section 9 we're gonna use Ready tools in order to do the same thing as well. So we're gonna use this MAC address a lot. However, the point over here is that maybe sometimes you may want to change your MAC address to become anonymous, even if you're inside of a network. Okay, so maybe you're doing some kind of network penetration test and you may want to change your MAC address because you don't want somebody to find out your unique MAC address. So what happens then? So you can use ifconfig in order to do that. So all you gotta do is just write ifconfig WLAN O down. And it means that it will take this interface down, and as you can see, I cannot actually see the WLAN O connections. I cannot connect to the internet right now because it's down. Once it's down, I can use some tool called MAC Changer in order to change my MAC address. And I don't have to change my MAC address, okay? You don't have to change it for the rest of the course or for any purpose. But if you want to change it for kind of like a penetration test, okay, then you can use this MAC Changer tool. So if you write MAC Changer --help, you can see the parameters that it takes in and how it works. So it's always the same thing for the Kali Linux tools. You can use --help in order to get the help out of this. For example, you can see that we have a random parameter that sets fully random max for our interface, for example, in this case, WLAN O. So you can write Mac changer, okay, and give the -r or -- random parameter and just write the interface name that you may want to change. So in this case, I'm writing WLAN O, and if I hit enter, as you can see, it has been changed. So this has been my current Mac, and this is the new Mac. And at this point, you may get an error, okay, saying that the Mac didn't really change. I'm going to show you another tool in order to do that as well. Don't worry about it. So I'm gonna write ifconfig WLAN O up, and here you go. Now I'm ready to use the WLAN O, and I have my new Mac over here. So if I run ifconfig, as you can see, WLAN O over here is now up, and also it has the new MAC address as the ether over here, ether parameter over here. So after you do that, you can come over here and you can see for yourself that you can connect to the internet. And for some reason, if it doesn't work after you change the MAC address, maybe you may want to run something like service network manager restart. Okay, I'm going to show you how to write it as well. Service network manager restart. So if you do that, it will restart the network manager, it will disconnect your current connections, but you will be able to join the networks after you run this. And there is an alternative way of using this, like network manager restart. If the network manager doesn't work for you, you can go for network manager as well. So in this case, I'm already connected to the internet and I have my new MAC address. As I said before, you may experience some kind of problem while you do that, and there is an alternative way to change your MAC address as well. And it's actually very easy because it uses ifconfig. Ifconfig isn't only for displaying the IP results for you. So you can write ifconfig WLAN O down, okay? And then you can write ifconfig WLAN O, and this time you can write HW for hardware and just write either over here like this. So HW stands for hardware, and we have seen that ether actually displays the MAC address for us. So we are actually going to specifically write what kind of MAC address that we want to change it. So it's not manual, it's not random, but it's manual. So I'm just gonna give some kind of random numbers over here, but it has to be 6 points like this. And then you're gonna have to write ifconfig WLAN O up, and here you go, now it has been changed. Now, if you do that, if you get an error out of this as well, maybe your USB Wi-Fi device or adapter doesn't actually support the change of the MAC address, okay? It happens sometimes. It really doesn't matter. Again, as I said before, you don't need to change it. But if something happens and if you want to change it, then you should know how to change it. Sometimes in the examinations or kind of CTF challenges, you come across this problem, okay? It asks you to change the MAC address of your device, and this is how you do it. So again, we're gonna use the MAC address later on during our course, so you know what it does, but you know what it is, but you're gonna see what it does and how we can use it in real life problems as well. Don't worry about it. Now let's stop here and continue with the monitor mode in the next lecture together.